So I would say the plan is for players to get a very big set with some new objectives coming out at least 2 months before the NPC, and at least 1 month, probably 2 months before episode 8 comes out.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. I mean, certainly, I would guess then. So there'd be an October set, and then what, like an April set, probably set 9, which would maybe be the first appearances of some episode 8 cards, tentatively, something like that.
So close to that, my hope is to release it sooner than April, because I would really like to kind of jump on the train of episode 8 stuff like as soon as we can. I don't expect set 9 after episode 8 to be a very big episode 8 set, but I do want to get like some of the new flavor in from that movie into the set as soon as we can after it's released. So I'm hoping for something like March for that, but it's going to depend a lot on how the movie turns out and what kind of ideas we have in design.
Okay, cool. Reed, you want to go ahead and introduce the punishing one?
Why would I introduce this card? I mean, I'll do it, Bradley, but I don't know why I got picked to do this. It's on my card. It looks like, is it Bill Kafer's card? Is that correct?
That's a really good guess, man.
No, I have the. This is the one of the very few cards that I actually have on my cheat sheet. I have his name next to, so that must have been spoiled somewhere.
I think Bill may have spoiled it. Yeah, this is Bill's card.
So I tried to it took me a while to get interested enough to actually look up and see like which Dengar you're going to slap on here and what all he does. I guess the one that you're going to play is the virtual one, Virtual Dengar. So he adds 2 to power, and that's it. That's all he does. He's ability 2, and he's not going to draw Destiny on his own. He deploys for 3. This ship deploys for 2, but then Corellians deploy -2 aboard, and Dengar is of course one of those. So you're going to get the whole thing for like 3 force, 6 power, ability of 2, and immune nutrition less than 5. And then you're going to get, and it's only 6 power because of the game text of the ship itself. It says power +2 when it's got a Corellian pattern. And then you're going to get like the Admiral's Order hate. So I guess that's why you would play this, is to put your opponent's Admiral's Order in their use pile. But then again, why aren't you just playing your own Admiral's Order, especially if you're playing matching ships?
I don't have much to add from a design perspective because it is a player card, as we know. So,
yeah.
I just hope that people play any methods necessary to try this out. See if they can play with the new Dengar as well, and have a ship in space. Put someone like I believe Yade Marak. I think no, is Yade a Corellian? Or did I make that up?
I don't know. When I
sounds good. I like that. Go with it.
Yeah. The other Corellian.
Yeah, yes. He is.
He is?
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Well, there you go. My thought when I saw the Corellian text is this will be pretty cool. Can you win this in Sabak and then put Han on it for -2?
Sounds okay.
Yeah, that's legit.
Okay.
So if you wanted to deploy Han for 2 force cheaper, that's one way to go about it.
I guess, but then it only has immunity less than 3, so all right.
And I started to like think about like putting this in Court or something, but Court's not going to stop playing Dengar with gun. It's really tough to compete with a card like that with a persona like Dengar. And I won't bring up Legacy again because we know the old Dengar and the old Punishing One in Legacy were legit.
Yeah,
like added 3 to attrition or something, super cheap.
Yeah, I did like that card quite a bit.
Alright, dudes. Well, that is it for Darkside, because...
Oh my gosh, we're only halfway through.
Yeah. Because apparently the spoiler list forgot to include Bor Gullet, which is a glaring omission that I hope is remedied.
I had to look up what that was. I didn't even remember that part of Real One.
Oh man.
That's the best part!
Someone had told me a great idea.
The best part is the gratuitous ass shot of Daisy Ridley as she climbed up the mountain at the end of the movie.
someone had a great idea that I didn't take advantage of. They told me that I should put on the square list, just like make up a card and call it, this is a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel, and then you just cut it at the last minute.
Oh, wait, I just conflated
Yeah.
Rogue One with Episode 7. I don't know what the best part of Rogue One was.
Yeah, but speaking of Rogue One, maybe this is the best part. These two fellows, Baze Malbus with Cannon. So, he is Dracilian Commando Virtual, character Rebel, power 4, ability 3, armor 5. If about to be lost, may fire his cannon. His cannon, you add 1 if targeting a character of ability less than 3. Target hit and forfeit equals 0 if Destiny plus 1 is greater than defense value. Deploy 4, forfeit 5. So, a couple things kind of jump out. If you pulled all your locations out of your deck, he basically auto hits anyone that's ability 2.
Yeah, why are we picking on Skrulls?
I mean,
I'm picking on low ability Skrulls and Droids.
That's
Thematics does not always translate to gameplay.
Yeah.
I think so. Here's the thing: the death rattle part of him, when he can fire the cannon again, I think is going to be a very underrated part of his text. If any of you guys out there played Wars TCG, and I know a lot of you guys did, I know Reed did, you could fire weapons.
Lol.
I still have 2 decks put together, man. Anytime you want to play.
I'm down. I have a whole box of cards. So, one thing that was a different rule change they made in Wars is that you could fire your guns as a top-level action at any point in the battle, even after they forfeit people, as long as you haven't fired that gun yet. This somewhat mimics that in that you can fire during the damage segment, which is something you can't do otherwise in Star Wars. So, if you have a specific guy that you want to make sure that you kill, this gives you not only an extra shot, but you can do it after they forfeit someone else for attrition. So, it's a lot of decisions that can happen on who's forfeiting whom when, who you want to target with both times with this gun, and I think it's going to lead to some really interesting things. And I think that's a pretty underrated part.
So it also works like if Vader's going to choke him to try to like not get fired at, you still get your shot in, basically.
Yeah, if they try to choke him and he's going to be immediately lost, then you can fire the cannon.
That's cool. That's cool. He is an ability 3 rebel, so he gets bumped up by you got a lot of guts coming here. Maybe not super relevant, but not bad. It is a cannon that cannot target vehicles. What's the thought behind that?
Probably just didn't want to call it a blaster, right? You don't want it to be a blaster. What else is it going to be?
Yeah.
Well, technically, so the vehicle thing, I don't know if I have a good answer for that gameplay-wise or thematics, but the technical name
Text-based.
is, well, maybe text-based was it. I honestly don't remember at this time. The technical name is the MW35C cannon or something like that. So technically, it's not a blaster. So we weren't going to make it a blaster because it's not one.
That's fair. So, yeah, I guess really just sort of a thought for the crowd, or maybe a question, I guess. Where do we see this fitting in anywhere specifically? Will this guy get played, or is like the ability 3 part where he doesn't draw Destiny on his own, is that enough of a concern where he might not fit into some decks? Really, anyone who has any thoughts on that, just chime in.
I can see him fitting into Diplo. I think
Where would you say, Matthew, he is in relation to Captain Cassian and Diplo?
I would probably still play Cassian. I played Cassian in my Diplo at Nats. I'd probably still play Cassian over this guy. But there may be other guys that I would take out for Baze. In my list from Nationals, I think I could take out a guy like Tycho. There's probably a few other card slots. I would try to fit him in for sure, because he's got good numbers. And especially if you're playing Guts in your Diplo, which a lot of people say you should, because against Scum, he gets a little bonus from that too. So I would try to find room in Diplo. Yeah, if you're playing one of the high character versions.
Doesn't have outstanding numbers though. Baze doesn't. with a high deploy cost of 4.
Yeah, but if you're playing Guts, then he's got a 5 power, 6 forfeit.
Who plays Guts? About the only people that play Guts are people that are trying to counter Scum.
There are some Java's Palace builds of Diplo where they're playing like the Audience Chamber, Java's Palace, and maybe the other 2-1 lower passage or something like that to take advantage of the power +2 and 4 +2 to all your rebels is really free. So those decks are out there. You would see play in that deck for sure.
Yeah. All right, sort of a fringe card of sorts. Matt, you want to maybe talk about Chirrut Imwe a little bit? I know in our last video, you had talked about him, and he just, there were so many ideas folks had floating around. So this is what looks like what what was finally agreed upon. So I'd like to get your thoughts, on sort of the design perspective and everything, and where he might fit in.
So this is possibly my favorite card in this set. I love the recirculate mechanic that he has. You alluded to a lot of the ideas that we had. So after last set, when we cut him, because we weren't really confident in what we had at the time, I went back to the design team, and I said, guys, let's look at all the comments that have been made from playtesting and development in Sky. Let's come up with something different, kind of like keep our favorite parts of it, which was the recirculate, was one thing I was personally insistent on keeping, because I think that's a great piece of text. And the design team got the rest of it put together. We added the Death Rattle as well, like the rest of the Rogue One guys have. And if a battle is just initiated here, maybe you get the top card of any reserve deck, either return it or place it on top of owner's force. So that can work both ways. You can do it as a light side player if you don't like your destiny to kind of activate a force, or you can also do it against the opponent, and they need to think like, I need to save an extra destiny in this battle, or he's going to move it to my force pile and I won't get a destiny. So there's some interesting things going on with both sides there. And the recirculate, I love this piece of text, because you can have your whole turn, like you activate everything and your opponent's like, all right, he's got no reserve deck, he's not going to battle me, and you play a bunch of guys, and then you play Chirrut, and you recirculate, and you've got a full deck full of destinies. I love it. I think it adds a ton of options. I would be playing this in Diplo, in Throne Room, in a lot of different decks. I really like the guy.
Reed, let me ask, does that recirculate? Would that help? You had that Spaceport Speeders deck. Would this card fit into that at all, or has that deck been sort of, is that not a deck?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. That text definitely that fits right into that. And when I was building that deck for Worlds last year, I looked into the Descent into the Dark card that has the same effect. The thing about this card is that it's once per game. It's not, so Chirrut can just be on the table and kind of have that. You can have that recirculate in your pocket for when you need it most. Like Matt's example was, you play a bunch of dudes and then you play Chirrut and recirculate. Well, if Chirrut's already out, you don't need to play in the turn that you use him. You can just sit there and camp until you really need it most. And so yeah, in the Spaceport Speeders, it's a natural fit. It's too obvious to not play. I don't know if Matt, if you really think he's good enough to play in Throne Room, we can see about that. I think he's going to end up at just about any version of Diplo. And yeah, he's just a solid enough character that you can play in other crap like OA or QMC or whatever, and like I said, keep that recirculate in your pocket for those late game scenarios where you only have so many cards in your deck and you need everything to spend force to do what you want to do on your turn, and that's where it'll really start to shine, which I think is pretty cool. Kind of thematic thing about this card is that as the force dwindles, he kind of shines a little brighter on both sides with the battle initiation text. If your opponent is down to low teens or lower in life force and they're counting every last little card, that can be a major thorn in their side to keep that in mind if battles are happening at the same location as Chirrut. So yeah, pretty cool card.
Yeah, I didn't realize, for some reason, I guess I just sort of assumed that he was like Descent in the Dark. He recirculates when you deploy him, so that's a good observation. I think that does make it a lot more valuable. The take